The big things that I see are, first of all, they not only have to have a plan, they have to test it. We see a lot of people that will create a plan, and it's great to have a plan, but if it gets stuck on the shelf, when it comes time to actually execute that incident response plan during a live breach incident, it's no good that you pull it off the shelves and the names aren't current, the telephone numbers aren't right, or the plan is out of date because the regulatory environment has changed. Only 60% of the people in the industry measured by Ponemon say they have an incident response plan, but I expect in 2013 that that's going to improve dramatically.
The best thing you can do, first of all, is prepare for a data breach. So rather than coming into it blind, if you prep for a data breach, then you're well rehearsed, you know what's going on, and you prepared for it and can move forward from there.
Companies understand that they need to focus their response in a way that is tailored to the type of vulnerabilities and the risk that those vulnerabilities present to the company. Ultimately, that means having a very efficient and effective response plan. Ultimately, what we see is the starting point being a very comprehensive plan that takes into consideration this sort of third-party relationships so that the response is both appropriate and deliberate to identify where the vulnerabilities exist and immediately address that risk.
I think it's key that you get partners involved, so if you're prepared, you know who the forensics firm's going to be, you know who the PR firm's going to be, what kind of message you're going to communicate out to the marketplace.
They want to see a proactive response program for the type of risks that the data subjects may face relative to the breach response. So a post-breach response program that allows the companies to be proactive in addressing those vulnerabilities and taking appropriate measures to prevent them from happening again, for us is one of the critical components in overall data breach response.
Once a company has been affected by a breach, obviously their brand has been tarnished. Their current and potentially future clients are going to think differently about the firm, about how they conduct their business, how good they'll be at protecting sensitive information.
Naturally, one of the sort of other more significant risks that come about from a data breach these days is the possibility that there will be a more stringent enforcement by regulatory authorities.
Short term, you have to consider that if you don't notify the right people at the right time, if you miss deadlines, you're going to invite scrutiny from various regulators who are then going to take great interest in what you have done as a result of the breach and what you had done previously, before the breach occurred, and the reasons behind it.
There are three big costs in a data breach. One is you lose time, two is the expense to the organization, and three is the loss of brand. Long-term brand degradation or loss of customer business is actually the longest term cost from a data breach. Have a plan, make sure you have the right people on that plan that are the stakeholders and someone's in control with direct responsibility as the single point of contact to outside vendors as well as internally, and make sure, please, whatever you do, practice that plan so if an event occurs, you're already prepared and you know what you're going to do.
Ideally, a firm should have a well-documented, well-practiced response plan. Three things that I would suggest. Number one is gaining a very good understanding of the size and scope of the event. The second thing would be to bring in a legal expert. A lot of organizations, especially larger ones, do have great expertise from in-house counsel, but bringing an outside expert also does help. And third, I would make sure that, and this is, I cannot say this enough, making sure there's a very clear understanding of once a breach has been confirmed, once the need to notify has been decided, that everyone understands who's in charge, who's going to be the person that ultimately makes the decisions as to what's going to happen. One of the biggest concerns that I see whenever I'm helping clients with a breach is that if there's no clear line of communication to the person who's going to make that final decision, a lot of time is wasted. And time is something that is not on your side during a breach.